if you give somebody the answers all the time, they're not learning anything. They're not growing as humans. They're not getting better in their role. They're not developing the skills and the knowledge that they need to help them accelerate their path to their next. They're waiting for you to tell them what to do. And it's funny, Alisa, this morning in my inbox, the newest Gallup report on the state of the global workforce came out. And surprise, surprise, the worldwide engagement, all of their surveys around the world, engagement is now at about 20%. About 20% of people globally say that they are fully engaged at work. And that's $10 trillion a year in lost productivity. Why is it important that we make this shift? That's why we need to make this shift. That we're trying to lead people with an operating system that was not built for this age.
Welcome to Mindset Mastery Moments, the best growth mindset podcast recognized by Million Podcasts and ranked as a top mindset podcast by FeedSpot. We're proud to be in the top 1% on Listen Notes. Join Dr. Alisa Whyte as we explore powerful insights and strategies to elevate your mindset. Let's dive in.
Let's be honest for a second. Most leaders think they're leading. But what they're actually doing is managing people, solving everybody's problems, and wondering why their team won't step up. And here's the truth nobody wants to say out loud. If you have to have all the answers all the time, you've already become the bottleneck. Because people don't grow when they're being told what to do. They grow when they're challenged to think. So the real question is, are you building leaders? Or are you creating dependence? Welcome back to Mindset Mastery Moments. I'm Dr. Alisa, the #1 mindset disruptor, and today we are going to disrupt how you think about leadership, because leadership today is not about control. It is more about engagement. It's about empowerment. And most importantly, it's about activation. And if you're still leading like it's 1995, we have got a problem, my friend. So I've got a powerful guest who is joining us, and he is bringing a conversation. I am speaking about Dr. Greg Giuliano. He's an advisor, an executive coach to senior leaders and teams across the globe. And he's also the founder of GA Ultra Leadership, where he designs leadership and team strategies that actually drive transformation, not just performance on paper. He's also a 3-time #1 Amazon bestselling author. His latest book, Coaching for Change: How to Engage, Empower, and Activate People. And what stands out about this book to me is really how he's helping leaders break out of what I call it the expert problem solver situation, where they're always having the mindset that if it's going to be, it's up to me. And he's also helping them feel like you do not have to fix everything or carry everything or be all and everything to everyone. Instead, he's helping leaders shift into a coaching mindset where they help their subordinates build ownership and create leaders at every level in the organization. So, Dr. Greg, thank you so much for being here with me today. Welcome to Mindset Mastery Moments. And in your own words, tell us what you do, why you do it, and how did you even get started doing this?
Yeah, well, thank you. It's very good to be with you. So when I'm speaking with groups, I typically ask a question to start off. I say, how many of you like being told what to do? Raise your hand. And nobody raises their hand.
Chirp.
Right?
Chirp,
They're
chirp.
crickets. It's like, well, then why do you spend so much of your time telling other people what to do? There's a disconnect there. So just pointing that, I like to point that out at the front end and say, yeah, so if you don't like it, I'm telling you, your team members don't like it either. So how do you make some changes? And I love that you use the term, the bottleneck in your intro, because part of my work is helping leaders not be the bottleneck.
Mm,
Helping leaders and teams become better versions of themselves, the best versions of
yes.
themselves. And that's why I got into this work many years ago. I started in education, went into private practice as a therapist for a few years and was really enjoying that. And then a friend of mine told me about this new field called executive coaching, and that led to leadership work. And then I just went down that rabbit hole. I needed to learn about that and ended up, leading a firm. And so I became a leader.
Hmm.
And I knew that I didn't like being told what to do, and the one time I tried to tell somebody else what to do when I was a team leader, it didn't go well, and so I realized that my job is as a leader is to create the conditions for the people in my care, right? Because as the leader of the
Yeah.
team, I'm responsible for them. My job is to help them be wildly successful. So that was my
Hmm.
job. It was to make sure that that team could be wildly successful. And what did that look like? And that's been my journey for over more years than I care to mention at this point. And so it really is about, for me, helping leaders and their teams become their best version, be very intentional about how they're going to show up and do their work. And you mentioned leaders can become the bottleneck. And they do, because the operating system that so many of our organizations have developed over time was designed that way. That it was a command and control kind of environment where decisions flow downward and problems flow upward, and you escalate things, and your manager tells you what to do, and you bring your problems, and the manager solves the problems. And that might have worked in 1950. It might have even still worked in the 1990s. But in the age of AI, that just won't fly because things are moving so quickly. Teams need to be highly adaptable, learning all the time, and able to leverage that learning to take on and succeed at the tasks that AI won't be able to replace, right? AI can't
Exactly.
do nuance. AI can't make judgments. And so those are human activities. And so teams need to be able to move quickly. We need to be very aligned. We need to have the empathy and curiosity and the ability to adapt in the moment
Hmm.
in order to move as quickly as the technology is and be a partner with the technology, and leverage these amazing new tools and this amazing technology
Hmm.
in a way that serves the team, serves the organization, so that it doesn't turn into the other way around. So I think the challenge for us today is breaking out of the business as usual of a command and control. The leader is the expert problem solver, as you say,
Yeah.
and making the leader the facilitator of the team's success, the servant of the team.
Yes. Yes, absolutely. I love that. And what I'm hearing is, and I definitely want to highlight for our listeners, that a lot of leaders are just trying to solve people like problems, and people are not problems to solve. They're
Right.
potential to unlock,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So would you say most leaders are over functioning instead of actually empowering their teams ultimately?
100%. 100%, right? People are so managers take care of tasks. So when it comes to people, people aren't tasks. So don't manage people, lead people. And we lead people
Yes.
by serving them, not by telling them what to do, not by solving their problems. If you want your people to be successful, if you give somebody the answers all the time, they're not learning anything. They're not growing as humans, they're not getting better in their role, they're not developing the skills and the knowledge that they need to help them accelerate their path to their next role. They're waiting for you to tell them what to do. And it's funny, Lisa. This morning in my inbox, the newest Gallup report on the state of the global workforce came out, and surprise, surprise, the worldwide engagement, they all of their surveys around the world, engagement is now at about 20%. That about 20% of people globally say that they are fully engaged at work. And that's $10 trillion a year in lost productivity. So if you want to make, why is it important that we make this shift? That's why we need to make this shift. That we're trying to lead people with an operating system that was not built for this age.
No.
And so managers are becoming more frustrated and disengaging, and therefore their
Yes.
people are becoming more frustrated and disengaging because
Mm-hmm.
we're still trying to use an old model, an old operating system for how we lead and how teams function in an age
Mm-hmm.
where it just doesn't work anymore. And
Mm-hmm.
no wonder people are disengaged because everybody recognizes something needs to change and it's not changing fast enough.
Not fast enough. Exactly. I mean, when you say $10 trillion, I hope some of the executive leaders or mid managers are hearing that kind of thing and understanding. And I've always said this when we think about the quality of our team and how we lead. If nothing motivates you, if you don't care as much about people, I know most leaders care about the bottom line, which is the dollar at the end. And if you invest in your people and you invest in systems that help to grow your people, I believe, I love John Maxwell says leadership is influence. Add to that, leadership is ownership. And and leadership is not a title. It's not a name. It's not a sticker. It's not an organizational chart thing. It's you as an individual in the organization as you serve. You are taking ownership, but that you have to be given something to own, right? And you have to be trusted and you have to be supported, right? To be able to own something within something that belongs to everybody else at the same time. So you brought the solution, which I absolutely support. You talk about leaders not needing to shift. They're needing to shift from being a manager of people and processes, is what I say, to coaching and coaching people, facilitating excellent processes. And that's my added word. That sounds really good, but what does that actually look like in real life? If you can share that
Ah,
scenario and what I would say would be utopia for some people, they can't imagine it being real.
But yeah, we have a mutual admiration society going here because you're saying all the words that I love. Right, so
It's my bread and butter. It's how
it's
I
it
lead, it's how I flow.
yeah it so making that shift from manager to coach is really just recognizing that it's not about my title, it's about my role. Why am I the leader of this team? It's to make these people successful. And I don't do
Mhm.
that by telling them what to do. I tell them that by how do I engage them? How do I empower them in order to unlock their potential and their talent and turn them loose and watch what they can do. And especially with the demographic of the workforce today, as I said, people don't like being told what to do, but people love getting coached. If we, you know, we I would give permission to anybody to coach me, but
Me
don't try
too.
to tell me what to do. So
Exactly.
coaching is, leaders enable positive transformation for the organization and for their teams and for the individuals on their teams. Coaching does the same thing. Coaching is about
Mhm.
enabling someone's positive transformation.
Mhm.
And so if I as the leader create alignment with for my team and connect the dots, to here's the organizational vision, here's the strategy, the important pillars for the organization, here's our team's mission. So let's talk about your contribution. And
Mhm.
let's get you focused on what's your work, what's your piece of this, which of the plates that are ours to spin are yours to spin, and how can I
Mhm.
help you to do that, right? And so creating that alignment then begins to shift. If you're aligned, then you know your job, right? You know your
Yes.
job better than I know your job.
Yes.
So you don't need me telling you what to do. You need me helping you to solve big problems that you might encounter. You need me to remove barriers when you would come up to a barrier that is too big for you or out of scope for you. You might ask for my help. So I like leaders to begin to shift to stop telling your team what to do and start coaching them. And it
Yes.
really is asking them questions all the time. That one of the myths that we dispel in our Be a Great Coach program is that coaching takes a long time. It doesn't take a long time.
It
Coaching can
doesn't.
it could be 5 minutes. It could be 5 hours if it's a really, big problem. We got to talk it through all day, but that's very, very rare. It's usually 5 to 30 minutes. When we do our programs, we intentionally, we throw within the first half hour, we get people paired up and coaching one another. And we intentionally set the clock for 15 minutes. That you only have 15 minutes. You need to ask the questions on the card that we give you. And I guarantee you, even if you've never coached anybody in your entire life, you are going to coach somebody just by asking these questions. And it doesn't take a long time.
And that's
And they figure that out.
exactly, yes. And that's exactly why you're absolutely a mindset mastery moments, because it really is a mindset shift. It's just a shift in how you think about what you do, and consciously aware of it, then you take on that process. And of course, there's methods to it, but it really starts with how we think as leaders. So here's the thing that I want you to help us with challenging some of our listeners today, because a lot of people think that they are coaching, but they really are just controlling with better language, right?
Yeah,
So
yeah.
how does a leader know, or a manager know, that they've actually made the shift from managing and controlling to coaching?
Yeah,
How can they tell?
it takes a lot of practice and a lot of discipline because, man, this solving people's problem habit is strong in all of us. We love solving problems and we love solving other people's problems. It's how we perceive we create value as a
Yes,
leader, and we need to get over that. So I just tell leaders, you need to get over that. That's not where your value comes from, because
yes,
what happens if your team can't find you and you're the problem solver? Work grinds to a halt. You don't want work ever to grind to a halt. We can't afford that,
yes,
especially today. And so it's forcing them, when you're working with me one on one, or when we're doing a program, I'm really hard on, you just need to ask questions. And
yes.
they can't be I had a coach a long time ago. He coined the phrase a quagestion, where your question is really a suggestion of what you should do, but you put a question mark at the end of it, right? Well, have you thought about, right? What about, right? And then there you get and you put your idea. So, yay, I got to give you the idea that, solved your problem. That's not what you want to do. You want to teach that person
Congestion.
and empower that person. That what you're doing is you are helping someone think something through and
Yes.
teaching them a thought process that they recognize, oh, I can do this on myself. Because, when I show up to Greg, he's only going to ask me those questions. So I'll just ask myself those questions, and I'll just let him know, hey, I asked myself those questions and I think I figured out a pretty good solution. And that's great. I love that. Right. So one of the simplest things a leader can do is when somebody comes and says, here's what's going on for me, and what do you think I should do, is flip it and say, well, what do you think we should do? Right. The
What
leader
are you
shouldn't be
thinking?
doing the first draft of anything. What do you think we should do?
Exactly. It's funny because I heard you say you were an educator before. And so have I. And I think that's one of the best things that ever happened in my life, because once I studied child development, which in turn was human development, and then did early childhood education and worked with younger children, and then I progressed all the way up to college, and then I didn't see much of a difference in how I work with them. And years ago, I learned it's with young children is to do exactly what you just say. What are you thinking? First response when they show me my picture, oh my goodness, I love your truck. No, I'm like, oh wow, what did you draw? Now
Yeah.
they get to tell me a whole story, and those
Yeah.
are true open conversations. When kids say, "Oh, I can't figure it out. I don't know how to." So, what are you thinking we should do? Like, there's something because I already taught them how to do the math formula. Now, this one just looks a little different, so they can't repeat. I want them to be able to look at math problems with fractions and think it through. So it's always those, and I think that was my best training of being a coach. And I did not know anything like how I would evolve over time with leading, but that same practice I've used in boardrooms, I've used with executives, and it's amazing how proud people feel of themselves when they're able to solve that problem with they think with your support, but really all you did was become a mirror. for them. And now they're able to figure it out on their own.
Yeah, it's so empowering. And what I tell the folks that I work with is you already know what you think. Ask a question and find out what the other person thinks.
That's what makes the magic.
Right? That it's like, and by asking people, well, what do you think we should do? Right? So you're getting into it's inviting creativity in. And we move so quickly that there's really not a lot of, we don't give a lot of space for creativity in our work. We're just copying and pasting what we did last time onto the new situation. And if we're in a space where we need to be innovative, if we're just copying and pasting all the time, there's no space for creativity and innovation. And so coaching really opens the door for more creative thinking when we say, well, what do you think we should do? Well, what are your options? And
Yes.
allowing that person to come up with some ideas. And it allows you as the leader, because one of your responsibilities, I mentioned one of your responsibilities is aligning people. Your other
Mm-hmm.
responsibility is to develop people. And
Right.
by expecting people to come up with their own options and solve their own
Mm-hmm.
problems, it allows you as a leader to get an understanding of where is this person at? What are their knowledge gaps or their skill gaps or their experience gaps that I as a
Mm-hmm.
leader need to maybe point them out to them, but just help them with their development and recognizing, oh, they don't know that. Well, if they don't know that, okay, I can point them to where they could go and learn
Can
that. Or
grow
I
in
could
that
say,
area.
hey, do you want to learn that? I could tell you, here's how I did it. I had a similar
Mm-hmm.
role. Or if it's a skill gap, I can point, hey, go listen to this great podcast. Go read this book. Go, let's get you a coach. Let's, find you a mentor. Right. So help them close those gaps. But if I'm just giving the answer, I never know what those gaps are. I never learn that
Mm-hmm.
about the person because all I do is show up. They give me a status update. They give me their problems, and I make decisions and solve their problems for them. So shifting to coaching allows you to really step into engaging people and empowering them in a way that the old command and control, what I call QWERTY leadership, just can't do.
Exactly. My goodness, I absolutely love it. And do you also talk about traditional versus ultra leadership? Can you break that down for us? What's the real difference between traditional and ultra leadership?
Yeah, well, traditional leadership leadership. It's business as usual. It's a command and control. I call it QWERTY leadership. Right, it's the keyboard on your computer. How did we end up with that configuration of letters? And it was
Yeah,
with the first typewriters, people were too fast, and the typewriters were always jamming. So they
yeah,
mixed up the letters, and it became QWERTY instead of ABCD, and it just
yeah.
locked in. And so this traditional leadership has locked in, and we
Mm-hmm.
really need, and we become enthralled with it. It's the way
Mm-hmm.
we do things around here. It doesn't work anymore. Ultra leadership is breaking out of business as usual. And so I think that for me, in a nutshell, traditional command and control leadership, it's
Mm,
the manager is the boss and tells people what to do and solves people's problems. Ultra leadership, the foundation is my responsibility is to serve this team. It's service.
yes,
I am a
yes,
servant leader. And what do I do to help these people as a group succeed and each person on this team to succeed? That's my
yeah.
job. It's flipping things. In the old traditional organization, everybody is working so that the people at the top of the organization sitting around that leadership table have less anxiety.
Mm-hmm.
And it flips it that the leader's responsibility is to make sure that your people don't have anxiety, that they have a fantastic experience at work contributing to the organization's goals, and that they can do that in a safe way and enjoy what they do and bring their best selves to their work.
Yes. Oh, wonderful. So yeah, I hear the traditional leadership is creating that compliance framework, they following and blah, blah, blah. And then I'm hearing ultra leadership as what that ownership, creating ownership, which is really just having everybody take ownership of their domain and
Yeah.
excelling in that space. I love it.
Well, you
So
mentioned
let's
just
uh
real quick, you mentioned earlier about, this ties into ownership. One of the other myths about coaching is that it's all soft and too touchy feely. And leaders will say, "Well, Greg, I've got to hold people accountable." And I said, then start coaching them, because real
exactly.
coaching finishes with, so what are you going to
Accountability.
do and when are you going to do it by? Right. So there's accountability baked in to coaching. If you really want to get things done, and you want to people to own things, and you want to scale accountability, start coaching people.
And that's one thing I like to putting in people's head when I'm working with them and I'm suggesting coaching or thinking about a coach, whether I'm encouraging someone to consider working with a coach or I'm encouraging people to coach, leaders to coach, or individuals, even parents to coach. I always say picture, let's go ringside. Let's think about boxing. Let's think about what a boxing coach does or even a basketball coach. They do not let up on their athlete.
No,
Never do they.
no.
But they're there. Come on, let's go. You're not doing this. I see you. We agreed, but you're not doing this. Da da da. And that's when they're ringside. But when you look at them in the gym, they're right there. They're showing them step by step those moves. They're encouraging them to think about it. They walk away, leave them alone to keep experimenting with their moves. And then they come back in. And I give that scenario only because there's a whole lot of accountability that they're a team that's planning and taking on the opponent step by step. They're watching the plays. They're assessing the performance after the game. There's so much that are like it, and I just love to bring that analogy in. What are your thoughts about that?
100%. It's funny. I talk about when you really lean into coaching, it reframes everything. And in the book, I talk about reframing the one-on-one as like a timeout, right? Your player is on the field. Your team member is the player on the field or on the court, and the one-on-one is the timeout. So, okay, come on, you're off the field. Come over here, what's going on? What's your situation? What's going on? Okay, let's talk about plays, and what's in your way. What are the barriers that you're experiencing? What absolutely has to happen when you get back out on the field? Okay, well, what are your options? All right, well, what are you going to? Okay, which option is best? Okay, well, what are you going to do, and when are you going to do it by? All right, timeout's over. Get back in there. And and so the traditional one-on-one, right? So we talked about traditional versus ultra leadership. The traditional one-on-one is you go in and it's a status update, and you just tell your boss about everything that's going on, and your boss said, okay, well, here's what you need to do there. Here's what you need to do there. We reframe it. The one-on-one, and in the old that organization, the one-on-one is for the manager. That a manager knows what's going on. The one-on-one is not for the manager. The one-on-one is for the team member. For the
Oh my
team member
gosh.
should set the agenda for the one-on-one, and the team
Yes.
member should, with the manager, set the cadence for the one-on-one. Managers talk
Mhm.
about, "Oh, Greg, I'm so busy, wall-to-wall meetings." Well, how many directs do you have? I have 8 directs. That's a lot of directs. How many times do you have a one-on-one? We have a one-on-one every week. So that's one day out of your week gone already on one-on-ones. I'm telling you, all of your team members do not need to see you every week.
No,
Right? So
no,
it's different for everybody. If somebody's new, maybe they need to see you more frequently. But if
because
you've
they're
got a
being
seasoned player on your team, they don't need a weekly one-on-one. They might need one every other week, one every 3 weeks, once a month. Get over yourself, manager. It's up to your team
Mhm.
member to tell you when they need. And if you're a coach, if they need coaching, they know that you want to coach them. They'll come find you if they need you in between your regularly scheduled one-on-one. But otherwise, the one-on-one is for the team members. So they show up and you say, "Hey, what's going on? What do you want to talk about today?" Okay, well, that's a cool situation. Well, what's the best possible
Yes.
outcome? So you start asking them questions, and you use the one-on-one to help them think through something
Mhm.
that is a challenge for them right now, and get them back on the court as fast as
Exactly.
possible.
Exactly. Let's talk about why is coaching no longer optional, really, because you just laid it out. You talk about $10 trillion. I don't know what else we need to talk about, right? I tell people if your organization is bringing in $10 million in profit and you're not coaching your people and you don't see that the people you have on your team are your most valuable assets and you build systems that you're probably leaving millions of dollars on the table. You're in the green, you're making amazing profit, but you could be doing probably twice as much more at least profit, which one then really you can reward your team members or your staff because you're if you just think about things differently. So a lot of people think it's HR's job. They think it's a life coach and they listen, I just need them to work. I need them to do their work. The reality is why are leaders we don't really have the option
Not
to
anymore.
change this formula.
Not anymore. Command and control, kind of managerial operating system was built for a different age. It was built for an age of stability.
Mhm.
This is not the age of AI is not going to be anything stable about it. It's going to be volatile, like it's a VUCA environment.
Mm,
And so the manager as problem solver and decider just won't work anymore. It will slow things down to the point where will lose any competitive advantage you ever had if you stick with that model. We need to
absolutely.
shift to a model where leaders are facilitators of other people's learning
Mm,
and their adaptability and their ability to interact with technology in a way that is really the best thing for creating the best thing for your customers. So we need that redesign of the operating system that my job as a leader is to serve the team, and I serve the team not by telling them what to do, but by helping them solve their I create a system that can carry itself, that instead of solving problems, I
mhm.
create a team of problem solvers.
Mhm.
I build that capability in, teach them that careful thinking, teach them that they have that capability, teach them to be very adaptable in order to keep pace with what's going on in the market and in the world.
I agree. And do you think for when it comes to that model, what that you teach and you train leaders to the coaching model, what does their hiring process look like though? Are they doing anything different with how they bring people into their organization to be able to function on the job?
Yeah, I mean, that's not as much as they should, right? The short answer is no, not as much as they should be. So recognizing that they need to change the operating system then has implications for how do we search for and recruit potential leaders? What are we looking for? How do we bring them on board? How do we acclimate them to this way of leading and forming teams?
Mhm.
And so it'll take a while for that to happen. But I mean, I'm sure you and your in your conversations with leaders, when they're thinking about, I've got to bring people on. Okay, well, what are you looking for? Well, don't think about just the functional expertise, but think about the leadership and the people expertise, the human skills that
Mhm.
are gonna be vital for someone to be successful in this new age. Are they emotionally intelligent? Are they careful thinkers? Are they effective communicators? Do they demonstrate empathy and curiosity? Are they adaptable? And are they good at coaching?
Are they going to take ownership?
Right, right. Are they gonna step in and own things and see their role as I am accountable. I own the responsibility to help those people be successful. That's my job.
Mhm.
That's why you're
Yep,
bringing
and
me on.
and it's my recruiting team isolated on an iceberg somewhere in the organization from the reality of what the operational procedures are. If they are, then they need to have more conversation with the other leaders in that domain to really develop what you just said, and that's another piece again that is disconnect because I do believe in this system that you're teaching, but I look at so many organizations, I'm like, even your job postings. I look at job postings. I'm big on watching workforce as well and systems. And I'm like, these job postings are just functional. Go get an AI robot to do it because all the nuances between this, you have not described, even in your job description, any attribute. And when I look at companies that do have attributes just in the job posting, because there's only so much you can do in a job posting, really, they actually have a better interview process and they actually have a better quality of staff. Quality of staff is also, for me, one of my big signs is how long have you been working with the company? How long have your I mean, just how long has people been with the organization? No one really hangs out with an organization that's they're not having positive experiences. Now, there's always nuances, but I feel like it really starts from that whole who do I want in these positions? So that we create coaching models and then they have they're coaching their people and it just goes on through because even with the customer buying and selling is easier when as a I'm not showing up as a traditional saleswoman but more of a facilitator of getting a client or customer where they want to go. And so there's more questioning and listening to them express what they need and then me sharing how my product or service actually solves that problem for them and them making a conscientious decision and boom, we win. The sale is easy now.
Yeah. So I mean, creating the right customer experience depends on that. Do you have the employee experience that those things are connected, and that translates into the brand experience that you're looking to have for the market to have. You touched on it that once you want to shift to this new operating system for
Mhm.
leadership and for teaming, you need a much stronger partnership with your talent acquisition folks so that you are being very clear about what you're hiring for. Especially if you're leading a team of humans and AI agents, right? So what's the role of the AI agent on your team? What's the role of the humans on your team? And are the people you bringing on able to demonstrate, understand the nuance and make use of the contextual lights, if you will, and display the judgment that you need? That what are the human checkpoints in your collaboration with humans and AIs? Because at the end of the day, the human still owns the output. And so,
Absolutely.
right? So the human needs those certain skills. So,
Mhm.
starting to look for those and hire for those, and then
Mhm.
developing those inside the organization, right? I work with lots of, leaders and teams, and they'll start to, talk about, well, here's our knowledge gap, here's our skill gap, and those are great conversations. Let's have those in
Yeah.
terms of the behaviors that will reinforce high performance for our team and the culture that we want to create for our team or our organization if it's a senior enough team. But then don't wait for learning and development. You got what do we need to learn and get better at, and let's own it. Let's go and let's you don't. I tell leaders who are thinking that they want to move to a next role, I say, great, what do you need to get better at? Great. Well, what are you going to do about that? Don't wait for
Mhm.
learning and development to roll something out. Go and find it. Be your own curator of
Mhm.
your own learning and development. No one is going to work harder at your development and your career than you. So if
Then
you're
you.
waiting for the organization, you're going to be waiting a long time.
Yep, absolutely. Well, you also talk about the ABCs of leadership. Can you break that down for us?
Yeah, I mean, so in my leadership operating system, those are the core responsibilities of leadership. That you just have to
Yeah.
remember your ABCs. My job as
Okay.
a leader, my responsibility on the team is to align people, make sure everybody's
Mm.
aligned all the time. Are we, connecting the dots?
Mhm.
When we talk about engagement, people say, oh, we look at engagement scores in the organization and people aren't engaged. People don't engage to organizations. People engage
Mhm.
with their work and people engage with other people. And so
Mm.
is the so part of the alignment piece is helping them be as aligned as possible so they can be really connected with what's their important work, what's their unique contribution to the team. And then
Mhm.
and then figuring out how do they need to be connected to other people as well. because of that alignment. So alignment is number one. You got to be your responsibility is to align people. The B stands for build bench strength. That your job. That's not you don't outsource that. It's not my HR business partner's responsibility. It's not learning and development's responsibility. It's my responsibility to make sure that I have a strong bench on my team.
Yeah.
Everybody is optimized. They're high performers. And if they're not, what's in their way and what can I do to help them to close those knowledge, skill, experience gaps so that they can be high performers so that we have a strong bench on our team. So it's
Hmm.
individual capability and it's also team capability. How does my team operate and engage with one another? Do we treat one another the right way? Do we communicate well
Mm,
with one another? So helping people develop the skills to be a good team member. And so that's the B. The B is building bench strength. And that's all the time. It's not once a year. It's not something I delegate. It's my responsibility as a leader. I'm always thinking about the strength of the bench and doing what I can
yeah.
to develop people and develop the team. And the
Wow.
C is coordinating action, right? The team has lots of plates that need to be spun. And so my job as a leader is to make sure that all the action activity is coordinated so that we aren't duplicating work, right? There's like two people doing the same thing. What's going on there? Or nobody's got this. Who's got this? Nobody's got this, right? So
Blind spots.
helping the team to stay really connected with one another and coordinated so that everybody knows what everybody else is doing, so
Hmm.
that they can, okay, this is my piece. I got this. So those conditions create effectiveness at scale and accountability at scale.
Yes. Oh, I love it. I love it. Now let's get a little bit practical. I know I'm putting you to work in a short space of time, but you also created the great coaching framework. If you can give us a high level breakdown what it is and how leaders can start using it immediately, because we gotta have some practicality for them
Yeah,
today.
so even and this is available on our if you go to ultraleadership.com, we've got a bunch of free resources there and the great
Yes.
coaching framework is there and it's I go into it in depth in the book. But really it's training wheels for leaders who want to step into coaching. It's 8 questions that move from idea to action and accountability in 10 to 15 minutes if that's all the time that you have. But it's really a frame for designing conversations that help you break out of
Yes.
that expert problem solver habit,
Uh-huh.
and just ask questions.
I love it.
And so it's a way to jump into coaching. If you've never coached before, you can do this and you'll coach. And if you've been doing this for a long time, and like you said earlier, you think you're coaching, but you're really not coaching. If you follow the 8 questions, you can't help but coach the other person. There's a get started question, a get focused question, a get real question, get serious, get creative, get strategic, get organized, and get going. Right. So it's about
Yes.
I like to get going. I'm
Yes.
all about action. So I still
Action.
use it. I've been coaching for 30 years and I have a copy of the framework on my desk because I get caught up with my coaching clients sometimes, and I love what they're talking about, and I want to add some value here, and
Yes.
I want to tell you what I would do, and then I catch myself, and I go, "Oh, so what are your options?" And they, Greg, you're not going to tell me? It's like, no, I'm not going to tell you.
That makes it so much easier because a lot of people who are coaches feel like they have to get in a coaching session and solve the problems for their that's not what you're there
That's
for.
not what you're there. That's not what you're there for.
I think everybody should use this framework and take the download, get a copy of your book only because as parents now we're parenting Gen Zs or Ys and alphas or whatever number or letter we're at. These people are so different. And let's face it, that is exactly why we have to make that shift from traditional to ultra because they are in the workforce now. And I am having a good time watching them. Like, I want to put together a communication book. I started working on it. I don't know. I'll probably finish it next year at this point. But just so people understand, just communicating across these generational gaps, that alone is reason for you to start coaching because you can't do that traditional leadership stuff with these what Z's and Y's and alphas. It's not even working. You parents are all the crashing out and explosions are because we're trying to be the person that answers everything without allowing their creativity and their thought process in, and they're not having it.
Yeah, yeah. Well, so it's fun. My daughter would come to me back in the day, and she'd be, upset about something, and I'd say, "Okay, what do you want me to do here? Do you want me to just listen to you vent? I can do that. I can just listen. Or do you want me to tell you what to do? Or do you want me to just coach you? Because I got to get permission for whichever. I need to know what role you want me to play, and I can do any
Right.
one of those three. I would prefer, I can ask you some coaching questions, but you tell me what you want me to do here.
Right. That's a smart thought. That is so brilliant for those who are listening about coaching your kids. See what role they want you to play. And I feel like we're getting in those battles because we're not letting our ego go to give our child a direction. If you raise them up right, just like with your staffing, you have processes there, and then you're able to come to that one and one,
Yeah, yeah,
allowing them to help be the lead on the problem solving, you're more than likely going to get the results, but that's a whole nother episode. Let's
yeah.
go into flip the script with you, Dr. Greg. Tell us about a time in your own leadership journey where you had to shift your own mindset. What was the situation? What changed for you? And what was the outcome?
Yeah, well, so there's two. I had a coach early in my career, and I was kind of struggling, and things were kind of stagnated. And he said, "Greg, how are you getting in your own way?" And I had some limiting self beliefs that he helped me. He said,
Yeah.
"You should let's go explore this. Come back, tell me what you think." And that really unlocked something for me. It's like, oh my God, I was the voice in my head. I was holding myself back,
Yeah.
it was a huge shift. And then there was another time, a few years later, another awesome coach who I really wanted I wanted this person to come and work with us.
Uh-huh.
She's a brilliant coach. And she said, "No, I won't." And I said, "Well, can I ask why?" She said, "Yeah, because you are still holding on to way too much. You're not setting us up for success because you're
Wow.
doing so many other people's job, because you're holding on, and so until you get out of the way, and create space, I'm not coming in." And the next day, and so I asked her for a bunch of specifics, and the next and I don't I'm a really great person to coach because I don't you don't have to tell me twice.
Twice, right?
Right? It's like, "Okay, I know what I gotta do," and, like, the
Mm-hmm.
next day, she gave me a list of 5 things that recommendations of, you should think about changing these things. I had activated on all 5 of them.
Rapidly.
Right. Like, "Okay,
That's your great framework. You went straight to it.
yeah, yeah.
Action.
What are you gonna do? When are you gonna do it by? I'm gonna do this, this, and this, and I'm gonna do it tomorrow."
Now, I always tell people now is the time, for whatever it is you're supposed to be doing, now is always the time. Love it. Thank you for sharing that with us. And I hope a leader listening, but they get to go a little bit deeper with you because I step away from the mic and the camera for Mindset Bites to go, Dr. Greg. And this is where I let you speak directly to a leader who is right now probably overwhelmed, carrying everything, and just tired of being the one everyone depends on. What do they need to shift starting today? I'll step away again. Like I said, from the microphone, the camera, it's just you and our listeners and viewers. Here we go.
Well, thanks. I would tell them, "You don't have to carry everything. Who told you you have to carry everything? You have an opportunity now to create a different experience for yourself and for the people that you serve as team leader." And so to make the shift, you just have to decide, I want to try to make that shift and see that your responsibility, the foundation is to serve. And then from there, what does service look like? It looks like aligning people, building bench strength, and coordinating action and making the shift from seeing that you create value by telling people what to do and solving their problems to coaching people and creating problem solvers is a shift from you carrying the system, which is overwhelming and it's exhausting, to creating a system that can carry itself. And the first step is just deciding that I want to be a leader who helps other people succeed. And the way to do that is by coaching them, not by telling them what to do. So make that decision and then test, right? It's all learning. So step into it. You're not going to be, you may not be good at it when you first start, but make that shift from manager to coach, and you'll find that you feel more engaged, your team feels more engaged, they feel more empowered, and you're unlocking all that creativity that is just being wasted away because people in the old system have learned that you just want their hands, you don't want their head or their heart. And so that's why you don't get their head and their heart, because it's been designed that way. So everything produces what it's designed to produce. You have an opportunity to redesign things and produce a different experience and a different result for you and your team.
I love it. That is so good. So good. And I'm definitely loving the ABCs as well. That is so phenomenal. I want to keep that on my town. I'll reference you quite a bit in my own work because that is something that is so applicable and it summarizes it well. So, Dr. Greg, tell us, how can we get a copy of your book? And of course, you've already told us about some of the free stuff you have online, but I believe if we just start with the book and start reading and then connecting with you, if we need you for our organizations. Tell us how we can do that.
Yeah, thanks. Well, the book "Coaching for a Change" is available Amazon, Barnes and Noble, and you can find it there. You can also you can find the link to the book on our website, ultraleadership.com. And yeah, there's lots of free stuff there. And then you can find me on LinkedIn and Substack. We post weekly articles, daily posts on all things leadership and making the shift from traditional QWERTY leadership to ultra leadership and coaching. And yeah, it'd be great to connect with folks on any of those platforms. And also, we
Absolutely. I
also
love
have a,
it.
also have a YouTube channel at Ultra Leadership. So yeah, we are in a bunch of places trying to get the word out, trying to build a community of like-minded folks who want to make the shift.
And so you also coach coaches. You have a network of coaches that work with you, is what I'm understanding. You have,
Yeah.
is it an academy or your institution that you have that
Yeah, we just have
coaches?
a great team of coaches who they like working in our system. They like coaching with our tools, and they've joined us and they help us with trainings. They help us with working with teams. And yeah, then we're always, always eager to meet new coaches who, see if they want to be a part of our tribe.
That's awesome. That's something too you all can check out on ultraleadership.com, and the link to Dr. Greg's Substack and his LinkedIn will also be in the chat. Let him know that you heard him here and you are subscribing to this ultra leadership framework and shifting from traditional to coaching. Listen, leadership. Listen, everyone. Leadership is not about having all the answers. It's about asking better questions because you can shift and make greater impact that way. Dr. Greg, thank you so much for spending time with us here at Mindset Mastery Moments. We're so happy to have met you and your amazing work, and we're looking forward to hearing more from you.
Thank you so much. It was great to be with you.
Thank you, disruptors. Listen, keep mastering your mindset. Think, speak, do, become. Make the shift today, especially in the age of AI. And Dr. Greg has got some tools to do it. Let us know that you love this episode, and maybe we might just have Dr. Greg on another one. Thank you for listening, and we'll see you on the next one. Bye now.